Fuck would we get from Jorah? Boat. There's another boat. Titties. There's another boat.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Glass Candle Podcast, where we look at what is, what could be, and what will come in A Song of Ice and Fire. My name's Eric.
And I'm Lillian, and we admin over at the A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones Discussions and Theories Facebook group. You can find us by searching ASOIAF / GOT Discussions and Theories.
And today we are picking up where we left off last with Clash of Kings, Daenerys, Chapter 2. As always with the podcast, we're going to give a brief summary. Lillian will give it to you this time around. We'll discuss who the main character was, who held the biggest influence over the POV character, and why. We'll discuss what Daenerys, in this case, could have done differently knowing how the future plays out. We will look at how this chapter affects the other plots moving forward, and normally that's what we do. We have a surprise category to fix this because Dany doesn't really interact with the other plots in A Clash of Kings and kind of in A Storm of Swords, but we have something to fill in the block here, so it's not just a pass question for the next 5 episodes or so. But anyway, after that, we'll pick an alternative point of view to view the chapter from. We will pick out individual quotes from the chapter, and then we'll name our standout appearance and close out with theories that apply here. So, any questions from the audience? Any questions from Lillian? I don't think so. Lillian, you got the chapter summary. Let's get right ahead.
You didn't even give me the time to ask any questions.
Do you have a question?
No, but that's not the point. The chapter opens with Dany and company arriving at Qarth. She's astounded by the beauty of the city and its people and fears she must look like a savage. Well, she does look like a savage. She's a fucking Khaleesi. While she's memorized by the marble and gems of the city, she wonders if her blood riders see only plunder. They make it to the center of the city, and Pyat Pri and Zoan Daxos? Whatever. That guy.
Just make a call and stick with it. Pretend like you're right.
I will still pronounce it a million different ways while we're talking about him. I don't fucking know. Like Lys and Lice.
That'll be hilarious if you say it a different way every single time.
Okay, so Pyat Pri and Zoan Daxos try to one-up each other until Dany decides to take up Zara's offer to stay with him. Dany is tired and needs a break. She sends her people out to scout the city, and Jorah tries to stay behind, but she says no. She wants to take a bath with the weird little fish and doesn't need Jorah playing the peeping Tom. Dany reminisces about Drogo and Viserys and thinks about her kingdom and the usurper. Speaking of the usurper, Jorah has brought a... I did call him a black man. Jorah has brought a black man back from the docks. Not a callback to him selling slaves at all. And the man informs Dany that Robert Baratheon is dead. Dany can barely contain her excitement, but manages to stay composed in front of company. She shares her plans to retake her kingdom and promises the informer a great reward when he visits her in Westeros. Once Cahora Mo leaves, Jorah attempts to reprimand Dany for being so open about her plans and reminds her that dragons can die. I can't believe I wrote the black man.
That was a funny callback to him sounding like slave. Oh, that's funny. Okay. You could also just said Summer Islander. Anybody who's listening to this knows what description would follow, or what that infers.
Well, doesn't she say like his skin is ebony or something?
I don't know.
So did I miss anything besides the black man?
Oh no, you got the black man. You didn't miss that one. Yeah. No, I think that was pretty much it. Okay, so who is the main character of the chapter?
It's the black man.
He has a name.
Cut all that out. His name is Cahora Mo.
So he's your main character?
No, he's not.
Oh. Who's the main character of the chapter?
Who's your main character?
I picked the city of Qarth.
Shut the fuck up.
Sorry?
I did too.
Nice. Yeah, my reasoning being that there's not a whole lot going on with Dany. I mean, she kind of just like thinks about when she's in the pool and stuff like that. But a large part of this is her walking up into the city and describing the walls, all three of them, what's put on the walls, painted or sketched, or not sketched, carved on
Yeah.
the walls, or however they're displayed. The people, what they look like, what the bazaars are going through, their clothes and everything like that. It's giving us the setting for what the next couple chapters are going to be like.
Okay.
That was my reason,
So
at least.
I no longer feel original for my answer because I thought it was different. So
Oh,
yes,
so what was yours?
I picked Karth just because it's an expositional chapter on her current state really, but we get the majority of the history of the Karthine and everything like that, so we can know how and why the people view her and treat her as they will in the coming chapters.
Okay, yeah, that's a different angle on it.
I feel like we basically say the same thing, just different. Yeah, we have the same point.
Say a different path, but we end up in the same place, just like the show and the book.
Fuck you.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps that one up. There's not a whole lot going on in this chapter anyway. Like you said, it's an expositional chapter. So let's jump on to the next one. Who held the biggest influence over Daenerys and why? You want to lead off?
No, because I want to hear your answer first.
Okay, so mine kind of took it changed as I got to the end of this, right? So at first I put Kahoromo and Zaro Zoan Daxos. So Q told
Daxos?
her, I'm changing his name every time. So Q
Okay.
told her news about Robert, which kind of galvanized her up. Like she got excited. She's like, "Oh fuck yeah! Like this shadow that's been over my life the entire time is now finally gone. Awesome." But also Zaro brought her, or he escorted her through Karth. He brought her to his mansion. So, and she also mentions to her blood riders that they only saw the parts of Karth that Zaro wanted her to see. So that kind of it has her
Okay.
thinking like, okay, Zara's kind of got he's trying to play his little games and shit like that. So she's wary of him, thinking he's hiding something. But then as I was going through them, I'm like, okay, yeah, Kohoromo, Zaro, Pyat Pri didn't do much. But then I remembered Quaithe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Quaithe, as everybody knows, is a huge part of Danny's arc, all the way through Dance Dragon. She says these weird cryptic shit. So with Quaithe telling her, be wary of everybody, they're going to see your dragons and want to steal them all. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like this guiding mantra, this underlying motivation behind Danny is protect her dragons above everything else. And with Quaithe's first warning here, at the end of writing all that other stuff down, I was like, oh fuck, well maybe it's Quaithe that holds like the biggest influence over here because she's telling her to protect your shit because people are gonna steal from you.
Okay. So is Quaithe your final answer?
Quaithe is what I ended up on, but there's a lot of different factors that weigh into this question for this chapter. Especially since this is a big setup chapter, mentioning Zaro with this being like her first real interaction with them, as opposed from the last chapter. They're like, "Hey," and that's it. So this is like
Yeah.
her first conversation with them.
Okay.
It definitely needs to be recognized, but also with Quaithe giving her first cryptic response to anything, definitely also needs to have some recognition. What'd
Okay.
you say?
I had the biggest influence as the opinions of the Karthine overall because when she's going through the city and she's worried about basically the same shit I think I said it in the summary. She's worried about how she looks and how they perceive her because she's wearing the whatever the fuck the Dothraki wear, skins.
Like painted vest
Yeah,
and
whatever. And
some
so
kind of pants.
she looks like a savage, and so she knows everybody's out there basically to get a peek at her dragons, but she is worried. I wonder if she's worried that they're worried about her, like that if she's going to attempt to raid Karth.
I doubt it because they see she has like 12 people following her,
But she has the dragons.
like baby lizard dragons. I don't know if they're worried about her raiding her now.
Eh,
Like a couple of people probably were like, if these bitches get that much bigger, like they could be a problem for us here.
yeah.
But no one is really thinking of that. The more you're like, oh, I want those.
Yeah, they all seem like rich, stuck up people. I don't like them. I just saw
I mean, I'm
Crazy
sure
Rich Asians, by the way, and so that's what I'm picturing is those people.
you're on a roll here.
I'm sorry. It's been a fucking rough day.
All right, so our next one up is knowing how the future plays out. What could Danny have done differently to avoid that result? So she had an opportunity here or she almost had an opportunity, I guess, to jump in with Kohoromo and just ride his boat back to Westeros after he got done parading around. What?
I'm a child. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't understand that.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, she could have jumped on Kohoromo's boat and sailed back. What are you? What is so funny about that? I don't get it.
Nothing. Nothing. This is the first time you said it was funny. It's just, yeah.
She could have sailed back to Westeros with this
There you
guy
go. That's a better way to say it.
with no army and stuff like that, but she would have got there and then she could have tried the whole, Blackfire invasion type thing. Like, once I get here, people will rise up and fight for me, sort of
Yeah.
thing. And that would have erased this whole Essos plot. We would have just had one book of her sailing around, and then we could actually use the whole how does Daenerys chapter affect the other plots, because she'd be in Westeros and
At some
wouldn't
point.
have to deal with this whole Middle Eastern insurgency thing.
Middle Eastern insurgency.
That's definitely what her Dance of Dragons chapters are, is a reflection of the occupation of Baghdad and everything like that. Clearly, you saw that, right? A foreign force occupies the city and it tries to install its new government
We
while
get
there's
in
a
trouble
shadow
when we
insurgency.
try to talk about things like this. So no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so 10 years ago, the United States went to war in Iraq, right?
Oh god.
And the Marine chapters are a reflection of that. Anyway, had she jumped on Kohoromo's boat and sailed back to Westeros, that wouldn't have been a thing. And my other thing she could have done was follow Quaithe around and just bug her for answers. What's so funny? And what is your response to this question? Or to my answers, at least.
What? I'm not. I'm just picturing her following Quaithe around, like poking her. Like, what the fuck do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Right. That'd probably be a better chapter than this one.
Well, we don't know where Quaithe lives. Like, she would have to go find her.
Yeah, she could just followed her. That's what I'm saying. Find out where she lives.
Well, Quaithe is the last one to leave her, right?
Yeah.
Do you think she lives somewhere, or is she like a homeless gypsy?
I think she has a building that she sleeps in.
Maybe her mask transforms into like a tent.
You're doing that thing again.
I'm sorry.
All right, since you're not taking my answer seriously, what's your answer for alternative action?
She could have possibly looked for different housing because apparently I got sick of writing his name because I have XXD is an asshole. There was the opportunity for her to go to the House of the Undying. Pyat Pri offered that to her, and then Zaro offers his palace to her. Quaithe didn't offer up shit, apparently. But we know that there's 13, there's the Spicers, there's, I was just gonna say the Brotherhood Without Banners. Wow. I am so
No, I'm
out of
caught, man.
it. But there are other factions. She could have negotiated a better housing deal.
What would be better? Apparently, Zaro's mansion is fucking huge.
Yes, but we know that he is. It doesn't matter really where she would go because ultimately, whoever she is with would be trying to use her.
Right.
And we see later on with Zaro that he wants to marry her, but it's basically to get a dragon. I just don't like him. I don't trust him. That's just how I feel.
Well, I think she got the best housing thing she could have. She does do a lot of stuff right. Like, once she gets in there in the manse, she tells her people that they're gonna stage their own watches and not trust anybody and nobody comes in. So Danny does do a lot of smart decisions again, just like she did in
In the
the
first chapter.
City of Boners last time around, setting up their own cards and stuff. So her head's on straight, and she's still very wary about everybody. So that's good. I don't think she does anything wrong here, where we actually, really need to debate her doing something different.
Yeah.
Also, too, we don't. You mentioned the Spice King. We don't get the Spice King from the
I
TV
said the
show here.
Spicers.
Right, I know the Spicers, but that reminded me that in the TV show we got the Spice King at this point, right?
Yeah, he's part of the. I don't even think they're called the 13 in the show, are they?
No idea. Haven't watched season 2 in years. I just know that stupid fucking picture that Bob loved.
That Bob posts every Saturday. He's like an admin for
Does
that
he
page.
does he still do it? I haven't seen it.
Um, I don't know.
But yeah, so that's just something that's different from the TV show, Spice King. So now we would normally go to how this affects the other plots. Normally this is going to be pretty barren. The only thing we get here is a kind of like a timeline synchronization where we're at now in Danny's chapter 6 months ago was when Robert died. So that's about it. So now
No,
we're
no,
yes,
because I had
yes.
an actual answer. Kahoramo sees dragons, and so someone outside of Essos, who will be outside of Essos and eventually back in Westeros, has now officially seen dragons and can give a legitimate report when he gets back to Westeros.
But what POV does that affect?
I don't know. Marwyn, Sam. Why are you
Well,
asking me these fucking questions? I'm just saying. He can go
because you
report.
you dropped a point, and I started trying to talk to you about your point that you were making.
I don't like it.
Right, which is our point here that this question here, this section of the podcast is going to be pretty
Doesn't
thin
work.
for the most part. So
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, but I suggested this a long time ago that we do this
I
segment,
remember,
and then
yes.
we never did. But now we're going to introduce little bitch of the week. Here we will pick someone from this chapter who was acting like a little bitch, kind of embracing our trolley side and getting away from our smart talk that we've been kind of slipping into.
When?
Last week we
When
talked
the
about
fuck did
themes
that
of
happen?
strength with Danny and how arc recaps and Stoneheart and all this other stuff in the last couple of weeks. We've been getting too uppity. We need to tone it down a bit, which is why we're bringing back little bitch of the week.
Okay, so who's your little bitch of the week?
My little bitch of the week is Robert Baratheon. He's dead. He's been dead for 6 months, but we get a reintroduction to how he got killed by a pig, and then also his wife kind of betrayed him, and maybe his brother did too, and maybe his hand did too. So this rumor is going around that big, strong Robert Baratheon gets killed by a boar, and then he gets betrayed by his wife, his brother, his best friend. That makes him my little bitch of the week.
I don't think that's fair.
Why? Perfectly
That's
fair. That's what the rumors are saying.
but that's not his fault.
Oh no, it doesn't have to be your fault that you're a little bitch. But Robert Baratheon is a little bitch here.
Okay.
Who's your
This
your
segment's
pick?
gonna take some time to get used to. So I picked Pyatt Pre for kissing Danny's
A
ass.
solid choice.
I picked him for kissing Danny's ass, continually trying to get her to come to his side, but ultimately what it was the fact that he kissed her feet when he said goodbye. Like, how much
That's
lower can you get? Like, really?
a strong choice. Kissing her feet to try to like gain an upper hand on her. Zara's like, yeah, you can come stay in my house, and Priest's like, I'm gonna suck your toes real quick, and yeah,
That's gross.
what a little bitch. I bet you Jorah was jealous.
Probably.
He saw the one tit dresses, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like it here. And then he adopts the culture. We'll get
Jesus
into that
Christ.
more.
Yeah, I got stuff on him too later. Alt POV.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Because I wrote them down in the wrong order. So next up is alternative POV. You can take us over.
I picked Pyatt Pre again.
Oh yeah, why?
Because he's a fucking weirdo, and I want to know what it's like to be tripping on Shade of the Evening. Um, at this point, like, really, we don't know his purpose yet. You know, we haven't gone to the House of the Undying. Um, so I want to get into his brain and see, is it the House of the Undying that sent him, or is he representing, like, the Warlocks? He represents the Warlocks of Karth, right?
Right.
And the warlocks worship the House of the Undying? Do they live in the House of the Undying?
Yeah, that's kind of like where they're based out of.
Okay.
So the
So,
warlocks are the House of the Undying?
but they're not the actual Undying.
No, I thought they were.
I'm confused. Whatever.
It's a
We'll get
very
there in two
vague and
chapters.
ambiguous thing.
So basically, I want to know what his purpose is. Whichever party, or if it's the same party, sent him out to seek Dany. I'm not sure if you've seen that theory before, where it was three separate factions, and that's why there was um, Quaithe, Zaro, and Pyatt to kind of counter each other and balance. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about?
have no idea.
Okay.
Nope.
I can't remember if it's Preston or somebody else, but it's basically that Zaro represents the 13. Quaithe, we don't know who the fuck she represents, and then Pyatt represents the Warlocks. And basically, that Karth sent the three emissaries, sent them from the different parties so they could kind of like checks and balances, so nobody could not steal Dany, but I don't fucking know.
I mean, I
So they
assumed
can
all.
check each other, so they can't gain an upper hand or an advantage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like they all want the dragons.
Yeah.
So,
So there's
like,
that's why there's one from each party and not just like some random went out and collected her in the middle of the desert. But anyway, so my point being, I want to know what his purpose is. Like beyond, yes, they want dragons, and we find out later that they claim that magic is coming back into the world because of the dragons. I just want to know how he thinks. Really, I want to know what the fuck Shay the Evening is like. Because we know now from Aaron, but
right,
this little crazy man has been drinking it way longer.
right. He's got a tolerance to it,
Yeah.
probably. I kind of thought, I think when I first read it, like that they were three of the 13,
Mm-mm.
but that's not a thing, I guess.
No, the Warlocks aren't part of the 13. The Warlocks are made fun of.
I thought maybe like Paya Free was one of 13, and
No.
Zara was another one of 13, and Quaithe was another one of 13. And there were just 10 other people sitting back at home waiting to see what they said.
I'm like 90% sure that is not correct.
I believe.
Okay. Who was your alt?
Kahora Mo.
Okay.
So there's that theory. It's a strong theory, I believe, that he is one of Marwyn's guys towards the end of Feast for Crows, right? He picks up Sam and Bravos and takes him to Old Town, and then Marwyn like walks all the way straight back to his boat. He knows where he's going, right?
Um,
The Cinnamon Wind, at least.
well, does Sam actually see him walk directly to the boat?
I don't know.
Well, because we're in Sam's POV when Marwyn takes off. So unless he sees him go directly to the Cinnamon Wind, I think it's linked because Marwyn had been watching them, I want to say, and so the theory is that Kahoro picked them up based on Marwyn's visions through the glass candles.
Right. So
Possibly.
Kahora Mo and the Cinnamon Wind is part of Marwyn's team, right? That's what the theory says.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I was going off of.
Okay. I'm like, what is happening here? You had me confused for a second.
Right. So it's part of Marwyn's, for lack of a better word, and don't take this too seriously. His spy network, the Cinnamon Wind, kind of like goes around and like he talks with people, I guess, or something. It seems like Marwyn is familiar with the Cinnamon Wind. If that is true, this could give us some kind of hint that they are sort of connected. Koromo could have made some references to going back to Old Town Moors and other ports or something like that. And what it kind of helps stitch together this whole Marwyn, Miri, Cinnamon Wind, Dany kind of sort of triangle thing that we got going on. I know there was more than three, but it is mentioned in the last book that Miri is trained by Marwyn.
Yes.
And now if we meet this dude, and he mentions because he says in Old Town when they set off in this chapter, and if he
Yes.
mentions sitting in Old Town a little bit more, and if he name drops Marwyn or like some old maester that describes him,
That looks like a bulldog.
right, or however Miri describes him, because I don't think the bulldog description comes until Feast.
No, yeah, it's
Uh,
in Feast.
So I think he'd have to actually name drop Marwyn to create a strong link. But that'd be interesting to see this kind of network build from that one line in a Game of Thrones to this one line in a Clash of Kings, which feeds into Feast for Crows and all that stuff. So that would have been cool to see that. And then if he's holding back information, if he knows where he's going, if he's lying about what his route through Karth is, he says he has to go around through the Jade Sea or the Jade Straits or whatever the fuck it's called down in there.
The Traitors Circle or something like that.
Yeah, that's what he said. But we know what he means. He's going eastern or east still through Ashai and Niti and all that shit before he turns back around and heads back west. We'd be in his head as he talks to Jorah, and then be in his head as he talks to Dany, so we can see what kind of information he's holding back or not divulging. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Better than Jorah.
The fuck would we get from Jorah? Boat. There's another boat. Titties. There's another boat.
Our next up is quotes. You got a whole lot.
1, 2, 3.
I got 2.
Okie dokie. You want to start then?
Sure. So in the very beginning of the chapter, Pyat Pri, he's talking how great Karth is, right? The center of the world. It's the gate between north and south, the bridge between east and west, ancient beyond memory of man, and so magnificent that Sathos the Wise put out his eyes after gazing upon Karth for the first time, because he knew that all he saw thereafter should look squalid and ugly by comparison. Sathos the Wise is a fucking idiot. If he's gonna jab out his eyes after looking at it. I'm sure that's just an alliteration and like a metaphor. But still, that's a bad metaphor. I don't think Sathos the Wise is that wise. And Pyat Pri just killed his reputation.
Just by saying that?
Yes. Because he poked out his eyes after looking at Karth. I mean, like, damn, that's some nice sextings on the wall. I'm gonna gouge my eyes out because this is so awesome.
Okay. I had the same passage.
I don't think Sathos the Wise appears in our story again. For good reason, too. Probably because he didn't see anything else.
Or he died from gouging out his eyes.
Yeah, he bled out because no one cauterized it.
It didn't happen.
Right. Idiot. The Wise. Okay, sure.
So I had it marked to, based on the center of the world and the north and south, east and west, kind of wondering if there's any significance to it. I think it's been theorized before. I don't know if it's a theory or if George actually said so, that Dany will eventually go back to Karth on her way to Westeros. Does that sound familiar?
It sounds familiar.
So I'm wondering.
I can't say if that's from George Martin or a theory or something. With
it's probably more of a theory.
To go west, you have to go east. And people are like, oh, I guess that means Karth because George said we're not going to do a Ashai. The only thing east of Marine is Karth. Or base Dothrak, I guess, technically. But that's more north than east.
North.
But Karth is more south.
But I'm just wondering, since it's brought up that it's the center of the world and the gate between all of those different directions, if there's going to be something in Karth that she either finds or more information that she gains there that helps with her journey of self-discovery in taking over her kingdom. Is this us being too serious? Like, this is too serious?
No, that's fine. I don't know what else there would be in Karth. Like, Karth has some kind of history. With its, I think it's the Preston theory, how its walls get more rudimentary as it expands outward.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's something going on there with, like, a decline of civilization of some sort. But I don't know what would be so important that Dany needs to go back to Karth.
Well, maybe
unless she destroys it, but I mean she's already, by her trajectory with liberating slaves and stuff like that, it seems like she has a lot of stuff to do in Marine, and then a lot of stuff to do with Volantis, Mir, and Lies before she even gets to Westeros, right?
Mm-hmm.
An arc in Karth would take way too long, and I don't see the importance of it. And we were texting the other day with how many POVs are going to be jam-packed in the fucking Winds to where everybody's going to get like 2 chapters a piece, and then there's a 1,000-page book. I don't see what's so important that she has to go to Karth again.
The only thing I can think of is picking up Quaithe, like literally picking up Quaithe,
But Quaithe can
because
talk to her from the fucking stars in the middle of the Dothraki Sea.
Dothraki Sea. Yes, but maybe Dany is sick of that shit and wants some fucking answers. Stop speaking to me in riddles, bitch. Tell me what the fuck you mean.
I guess, but I don't really know if Dany would make the trip
I
all the way to Karth just to be like, hey, talk normal. And then Quaithe would be like, oh, okay, since you're
yeah,
here.
I don't know.
Not to mention Karth is huge, and where would Dany know where to look if Quaithe is even still in Karth?
I don't know. But that was
Yeah.
just what stood out to me is whether or not there could be any possible future significance for Karth being the center, quote unquote, of the world.
As far as the center of the world thing, I think it's just a callback to like the Empire of the Dawn sort of thing.
Okay.
Ashai is often referred to as like the capital, if you will, or like the main city of all that stuff. And Karth is relatively close to Ashai, so maybe it was just like a no, Karth is better than Ashai. Fuck you, Ashai is better. And then the Yiti-ish people, the Yiddish,
Yiddish.
those guys were just like, no, we're better.
Or betterer.
Yes. And then Azor Ahai was like, fuck you guys. And then he calls it a long night and plunged the world into darkness and was like, Ashai is best. Because he killed everybody. Because he's the Bloodstone Emperor.
Let's. We're not. We're not going to do that right now.
Tangents. That's in the quote, right?
I get in trouble, but you can talk about whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. All right. So shortly
Come
after
on.
that, Danny is describing Karth, and you went over it a little bit already too. The three thick walls and how each one is made of different stone, and they have different types of drawings on them or whatever. So the reason why I kind of called it out, it reminds me of Volantis because Volantis is supposed to have those super thick walls and only like people with Valyrian blood can get to the innermost part of the city. So
Right, yeah, the blood of old Volantis is what it's called, right?
so of old Valyria.
I thought it was Volantis.
Valyria. You want to bet?
Yes.
How much you want to bet?
The $20 that you gave me
Where's
this
my?
week for being
I was
late.
gonna say, where's my phone? We're on my phone, so I can't.
I'll look it up.
Okay, but my point being, so it's very similar to Volantis, but Volantis was a child of Valyria, and weren't the Valyrians part of taking out old Gis and all of that, which is kind of more towards Karth. So for there to be a similarity between Karth and a child of Valyria, I just thought it was weird because you would think they'd be opposing factions. Did the Valyrians try to conquer Karth?
I don't think so.
I feel like they would have with the amount that they were expanding. I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But so I just find it kind of weird how there's a similarity in construction between a child of Valyria and Karth when they are probably opposing factions and not similar in any way.
Right. Because Cars kind of boasts its own reputation, I wouldn't think that they had been conquered if they're saying like this is the greatest city that's ever been and ever
And
will
never
be.
will be, yeah.
Right. So that kind of gives me the impression that it hasn't ever been conquered. But I mean, there's probably some line in World of Ice and Fire that says yes or no.
Well, and it doesn't mean that they didn't try. They still could have gone to war at some point.
Right. Do you think there's any kind of importance to the etchings on the wall or the carvings on it? So the innermost, the oldest part of the city, one would assume, is sex, and
Mm-hmm.
then the middle one is war, and then the outer one is animals, wildlife, beasts.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that is sort of referencing like how like humanity starts here, right? And everybody's happy with each other. They're sucking each other's dicks and fucking each other, and everybody's happy. And then it expands out, and then they start killing each other. And then at the outermost level, the current era, if you will, everybody's just animals and beasts, and they lack that kind of refinement and nobility or acceptance or harmony of humanity as the genesis of this whole thing was?
You are
Or am I
thinking
just
about it
making
way
shit up?
more than what I did. I was trying to link the animals to sigils, which was what I was doing.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I tried that first, and I was like a snake, an elephant, and yeah, nope, this doesn't work.
if anything, I would look at it going the opposite direction. So going from nature and hunting, so that's man killing animals, to man killing man, to eventually man fucking man or woman, whatever. So like after war, to stop the war, they started fucking each other. So maybe after all this war in Westeros, it's gonna be an orgy.
Oh,
That's
like a
not what I
Sense8
meant at
finale.
all.
You ever watch
What?
Sense8?
No.
Oh, it's a great show, and they have like these. It's very tastefully done. The cinematography is excellent, but they're massive orgies. It's hard to describe, but
Is
like
it a
once you see it,
porn
you're
or a
just
real show?
no. It's a Netflix TV series. It's a great series. But anyway, I digress. I think that's kind of looking at it backwards, considering that it's just to repeat myself, I suppose. The sex wall is the first one that had to have been built because you don't build walls inward, right? You expand
You can
outward.
if you're trying to keep people out.
It's yeah, but three times. It, to me, at least, it seems more logical to you build your first wall and then oh we got too many people, let's expand out. Oh we got too many people, let's expand out again. Um, so it seems like it's trying to convey that outward expansion, the the process or like the time flowing out instead of coming inward.
Well, that would mean over
Especially
time
since Karth is
then.
sitting in the red waste where it's all just blasted land and everything like that.
Well, okay, so that's another way to look at it because if you're going from inwards building outwards, over time they've lost the ability to construct basically because their first one is made out of stone, second one is made out of granite, third one is made out of red sandstone. So that is similar to the red waste. So maybe then that leads to the idea that around Karth and in that general area, the Great Empire of the Dawn, maybe it was a beautiful, blooming place, and at some point, some catastrophe happened, and that's why we now have the Red Waste.
Well, yeah, I agree with that definitely. It wasn't always the red way.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the only way I can see it working your way. Well, my way doesn't work either, but like for me to justify it in my mind would be that over time they lost. I don't want to say technology, but they just lost the ability to have that type of construction, I guess. Or maybe they lost the materials to do it.
I mean, I think that goes hand in hand, like with the environment decaying. It goes hand in hand with how this, like the social structure of Karth and the whole area decays as well. Because with the resources evaporating and drying up, that's kind of what the social construct of the walls are portraying. Everyone's in harmony and in love with each other to war to animals. That shows us type of decaying process going on, you know,
Yeah.
which reflects the environment that they're in. How Karth wasn't always this, red clay wasteland.
I think the
So,
animals are just what throws me off the most. Like the whole love and sex and then war. That makes sense to me, but from it to go to that to animals is weird. That part doesn't I can't put it
yeah.
together.
I mean, I think maybe we're overthinking it because I don't think our story's going to take us back to Karth again for any kind of explanation anyway.
Okay
So,
then. What's your next
um,
quote?
so this kind of extends across other things, or like this ongoing pattern that George kind of seems to write in his stuff, whether it's intentional or people just overthinking and overreading. Probably that one. But along the same lines, you've heard the thing where it's anytime he mentions Harbor Gold, it means there's some kind of line going on.
Yeah.
And this one's a bit more stark than that kind of ambiguous kind of reference. But it's whenever someone references something sweet, it's got some kind of, for lack of a better word, sour undertone to it, some kind of like dark and nasty and
Mhm.
not so good thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets picked up here, right? So yeah, George is like, I don't fucking like these cartoon people. George's a racist. And Danny's like, perhaps it's the camels you're smelling. The Carthene themselves seem sweet enough to my nose. And Jorah kind of says this, this theory out loud. Sweet smells are sometimes used to cover foul ones.
Yeah.
And at least in my ebook page
Your fucking
earlier here,
annotations.
no, it's not an annotation at all.
Okay.
I'm not mentioning any annotations here. It's something Zaro says. He says he's responding to Pipe Free. He says, "Why should she need your palace of dust when I can give her sunlight and sweet water and silks to sleep in?" So that kind of just sorry, that was me setting my iPad down. Um, that plays right into it right there, where Jorah's saying this whole sometimes sweet covers up bad shit, and not even like on the same page earlier. Zara's like, "I'll give her sweet water," but we know, you know, now having read the book, Zara's a piece of shit and is trying to steal her dragons the whole time.
Yeah.
That sweet water was probably, I'll drug her and give her some roofies so I can steal her dragon.
Date raper.
Yeah, that was the sweet water he was going to give her. But anyway, it was an opportunity to bring up this whole sweet thing. So keep an eye out if you happen to read another passage about
Okay.
the sweet, sickly smell of death, something like that.
Sickly sweet.
Tomato potato.
Okay.
That was all my quotes. Next is it's all you until we get to stand up.
All right. So I have two that point out the creepiness of Jorah Mormont some more.
Oh, goody.
So I know, right? I feel bad because I really like his dad.
And how could
There,
his dad raise such a fucking creep?
well, there are times where I like Jorah as well, but God, the man is creepy as fuck. Um, all right, so Danny is thinking to herself. This is like right after your passage, actually, when he's saying about Karth and all that shit. Um, she thinks to herself, "My great bear, I am his queen, but I will always be his cub as well." Gross, okay? And then there's another one.
Well, I'll let you finish.
Well, hold on. Sometimes he thinks of me as a child he must protect, and sometimes as a woman he would like to bed. It's gross. Putting those things together is gross.
Yeah, it is. It is gross. I think the comparison she's making with the cub thing, people from Westeros like to personify their fucking animals. She was saying Jorah still wants to protect me, so he's a bear, and I'm like the thing that bear protects, which is a cub.
Okay, but a bear and a cub is the baby bear.
Right. That's the like that's it. That's the cutoff.
Okay.
And then Jorah wanting to be the bear to fuck the cub. That's
Oh.
the ugly part.
Okay. Gross. All right, and then I had one more, which we don't really have to discuss, but I just want to point it out because I'm going to point it out probably again later in two chapters.
So pointing it out now.
Well, because it's in this chapter, so I have to point it out, but I might not really have anything to discuss about it, is my point. So this is after Jorah is getting mad at her for basically telling Koromo that she wants to um, go back and take her kingdom and everything like that, and telling her that dragons can die. And she says, "I'm not Viserys." And he says, "No, there is more of Rhaegar in you, I think, but even Rhaegar could be slain." So I'm a big fan of RLD, so, and that will come up in chapter 4. So I'll probably bring this sentence back up again. So I just wanted to
What is
say it now so I
RLD? Well,
remember.
that's a good theory, and we'll save that on theory.
On chapter 4, we're not going to talk about it today.
No, I
But
had it right now too because I had that same quote, but I put it down in theories.
it makes more sense for chapter 4. We can like do an intro to it.
Right, I was just writing it down because I was as I read it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is one of the things
Okay.
that helped build up to it, and kind of like how in our Catelyn recap when we read it all the way through towards the end, we were just like, holy shit, there's so many Stoneheart seeds.
Okay.
I think this is going to be one of those things that build up this whole subtext for the RLD theory.
Okie dokie. That's it for quotes for me.
So standout appearances are our next one up. Not a whole lot to choose from here. Zaro's house was fucking huge.
Okay.
Huge enough to the point to where I almost named Illyrio the little bitch of the week because Danny's like, Illyrio's house looks like a fucking sheep hut.
Yeah.
or something compared to this shit. Like, we get a whole wing to ourselves and we're like 10 people. Holy fuck.
Okay. Can you guess who mine is?
Jorah? I don't know.
The Black
What's his name? He has a name. Have you
Man.
remembered it yet?
Mo. Um, he stood out for me because, as a trader, he didn't have to tell them anything. It got him nothing. Danny doesn't have any money to pay him. He says that his payment was seeing dragons, but the fact of the matter is he's a fucking trader. He deals in goods
He's
like
not a traitor. He didn't betray anybody.
trader. Trader.
I know.
Dumbass.
But the way no one refers to traitors as fucking traitors. So I was like, hold on. What are you saying?
I just
He's
cuss too much, so.
a merchant guy. He's a sailor
Well, if
who
you would have
trades
let me
items.
finish, I was saying he trades in goods. It's a
He's a
fucking
fucking
barter
traitor, is what
system.
he is.
He's a fucking traitor. Um, my point being, he didn't have to do what he did, and so it stood out to me as both a good thing and a bad thing because it could potentially be shady as fuck that he's passing on this information, but it's also good because it shows that there are people in Planetos, on Planetos, whatever the fuck the appropriate word is, that are willing to support Danny and help her.
I don't think it's weird, because I mean the whole Dothraki abandoned this whole religious concept, like, oh well, the Cal's wife has to go be an old
To
lady in a
basically,
hut.
yeah.
Like, they're all just like, well, fuck this shit. She has dragons, so she's like, they have tossed out their, quote religious beliefs because of dragons, and these three people traveled from Karth to some random desert town, abandoned city to go see dragons, and then they brought her back, and then everybody's coming out in Karth to go look at dragons. So it doesn't seem too weird for this dude to be like, "Fuck yeah, I'll tell you what's going on in Westeros if I can see dragons."
All right, you got a point. Yeah.
If anything, the Dothraki people are the weirdest for them being like, "No, we're not going to ship you back off to an old dead widow's home because you have fire-breathing lizards."
Well, really, all that was left though are the weak and the women. Like, are they really going to try to put
The
up a fight?
old, the sick, the green boys, the kids with
Yes, your
braids
green
in their
boys.
hair. I was hoping we could get by a chapter without that. But no,
The
like in
men almost
Kuromo, like
grown.
a dude, like, because sailors, like, they kind of they have like this whole stipulation, or not stipulation, but this thing like whenever they go into ports, like they get drunk and they tell stories and shit like that.
Hmm.
So it makes sense for this dude to be like, yeah, in fucking Karth, I saw dragons. People would be like, bullshit. He's like, no, I fucking did. And then, he'll get free beers or some shit.
Okay.
He's starting a trend. He'd be trending on Twitter.
And Twitteros.
Yeah. That's kind of fun. So our next one up is theories. And I think I touched on both of mine. There's more Rhaegar in you, which lends its way to RLD, but we'll seed that for the rest of the Danny Clash arc, I guess, because there's not a whole lot to go on here,
No.
especially when the gold mine of shit from Danny 4 comes up.
Yeah.
And then Cumo, Cinnamon Wind, and Karth to pick up Miri Mazdur. And that kind of feeds in with this whole Marwyn agent spy network thing. I think this does track again. A lot of this whole Marwyn spy network thing is a Preston Jacob brainchild, right?
I don't know if anybody else has stuff on it, but that's where I was introduced to it.
Yeah, same. Um, it seems very spread thin if it is true, but also it doesn't have enough consequence to where it upsets anything if it isn't. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, if it's true, cool. It doesn't like fuck anything up. Like, I don't need to know the backstory of how Marwyn met Koromo or the Cinnamon Wind or Miri. and did all this shit. Just
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, this is a thing. Okay, fine. That's it. Like, this is the only theory that applied here. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
grasping at straws. This is the first time we hear about the cinnamon wind, and the idea is that it came to Karth to pick up Neri and the dragon eggs and Dany
Eggs.
or something. That's what I said. Eggs.
You said egg.
Nope, I said eggs.
I heard egg.
Listen to the recording when this comes out.
Whatever. Okay.
I said eggs.
Still
Did you
heard
have
egg.
anything for theories?
I had a what if, but we already covered it. So
What was
we're
the what
good.
if?
What if Dany went with him?
What? So why were you laughing so hard
because
when I said it?
of the way you said it, it sounded like she jumped on his dick.
I said hopped on his boat.
I'm just a child. Just ignore me.
Where you're from, is boat a euphemism for sex or dick?
Well, there's boat sex. So.
I'm so disappointed in you right now. But yeah, so like with as much as quote magic and prophecy and shit that surrounds Dany, not a lot of it happens in Clash except for that one chapter, and then she just like reflects on it. So we'll be repeating ourselves a lot
Yeah,
once we
probably.
get past the first Undying, or well, the Undying chapter, not the first. I think that about wraps us up, right?
Yep.
Okay, so thanks for listening all the way to the end. If you made it here. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, I doubt you can listen to SoundCloud or Stitcher or Google Play or iTunes or SoundCloud, but we're also on all those places.
You said SoundCloud
Give us
twice.
because it's twice as important as Google Play.
Okay.
Anyway, it gives us a thumbs up on YouTube. Find us on the Facebooks, ASOIF/GOT discussions and theories. Join our group. Tune in again for Danny 3. All right, guys. Talk to y'all later.
Thanks, guys.